fresh, frozen canned. Do you think that all of these green beans have the same nutritional value?
I want to say that the fresh ones are going to have more nutrition.
Good question. What do you think?
Yeah?
I'm not 100% confident with that.
Do you think that there's any nutritional loss in these green beans when they go into a can?
I would think so.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
By how much?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm here at CSIRO's Food Innovation Centre, where I'm going to meet an old friend who's going to answer our questions on the science of canned fruits and vegetables. Let's go. So to prevent any food contamination and food safety, I've got to put on these steel cap boots and a lab coat. Hey Marla, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good to see you again. Now Marla, I've asked a lot of Aussies about the nutrition in a can, and a lot of them seem to think that the nutrition of the vegetable is lost when it's gone into a can. Is that true?
Carbohydrate, protein, fat and fiber, they don't get affected or get reduced by the
canning process. Amazing.
But mainly the vitamins, vitamin B and C are more susceptible to heat related losses. But when we compare the canned products with fresh, we have to take into account some fruits and vegetables need to be cooked before we eat.
Yes.
So during the normal cooking process, there can be similar losses.
And so basically the fruits and vegetables inside the can are put in raw, and it's cooked in this high pressure cooker very quickly, and it comes out ready to eat. What about fresh produce? Now you guys know that I'm the fruit nerd, and I'm the biggest advocate for fresh fruit and veg. And that's because fresh produce is always going to give you the best textural experience. It's going to be crunchy, it's going to be firm and crisp. But sometimes texture isn't important depending on how you're going to eat it or put it in a meal. Now, the modern fresh produce industry is quite complex. It's not as simple as picking something off the tree and getting to your door. And here's a great example. We've got some tomatoes here that were picked yesterday, and they're picked at a slightly more green stage. It's what the industry calls backwards. And what it does is it gives us time to get the fruit here into the markets. When you buy it, it might be a little bit more colored, and it might last even a few more days before you cook it. Now the whole process is from here to here, and then for you to finally eat it might take days or even weeks. And so if you eat a tomato at the incorrect stage, when it's maybe a bit too early, you might not have the best eating experience. Compared to tomatoes which have been canned, they're almost always picked at the most optimal ripe stage where it's really, really sweet. Now, some fruits and vegetables have a lot of nutrients packed inside of it, but if you eat them raw, you're not actually accessing all the nutrients inside. With some fruits and vegetables, you actually need to cook it to access all of its nutrients. Now, you've probably got a freezer at home, but let me show you my industrial freezer, which we use here for our frozen fruit and vegetables. And it stores 20 tons of fruits and vegetables, and it's set at -20, where we store our fruits and veg, like this durian, which was frozen in 15 minutes. Now that's much faster than a regular freezer, but even this freezer isn't as powerful as the freezers used to snap freeze your fruit and veg at the supermarket. Now the temperature in here is set and holds between -19 down to about 21. Now that's only 1 degree, whilst your freezer at home, it might have a differential between -5 to -15, and that's a big variance, and that big variance means that I guess your frozen veg isn't going to keep as long as a commercial freezer like this. Now let's get out of here because I'm freezing. Now, if you remember Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back, he gets frozen in carbonate really, really fast, but when he gets defrosted in Return of the Jedi, he's basically the same person. And that's the same for frozen fruit and veg. If it's frozen really fast, when it's defrosted, it's in its same or very similar state. Freezing fruit and veg really fast means that the ice crystals are really, really small. When it's really small, it means that basically the texture is the same all the way around the fruit and vegetables, because all of the water is being held in really small crystals, and it's not breaking any of the tissue walls or the fiber. So when you defrost it, it's gonna be a better eating experience. Now here is a perfect example of 2 of my punnets of berries, one that hasn't been frozen correctly, and you're starting to see a lot of these ice crystals form in this punnet. Whilst this one has been stored correctly at a constant negative 20-degree temperature, there are no ice crystals in here. All of the water is attached to the flesh inside the fruit. Now, compared to fresh, frozen fruits and vegetables are always picked at its most mature state. So is there a difference in nutritional value between fresh, frozen, and canned produce? Well, the answer is not really. And especially if you're going to cook the fruits and vegetables before you eat it, you're pretty much going to obtain all the nutritional value you can from each of these ingredients. Now, there is a difference between price, availability, and shelf life of these 3 different types of produce. So here are my tips for how I feed my family. Canned tomatoes, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you're gonna have a salad, of course, get the fresh one because you want the texture, you want the vibrancy. But if you're gonna cook it down in a pasta, then canned tomatoes does the trick. It's cheap, but it's also picked at a more riper stage. Now, canned pineapples are a really good option because pineapples are often very fibrous. There's a lot of string in there, and so when it's canned, it doesn't actually break down that much. And so it doesn't turn to mush. And so if you're gonna cut it up, put it in a pizza, put it in a soup or in a granola, you're still gonna get that textural bite. And most of the time, let's face it, we're not gonna need a whole pineapple for a meal. Now, frozen berries are such a great option if you're baking or gonna cook it down anyway, but my kids actually eat frozen berries every morning with their cereal. And I'll tell you why frozen berries can often be a better option than fresh. Because if you look at this strawberry right here, this one is a fresh strawberry, but this is a frozen one. Now you can see here that the strawberry has been picked backwards. It's a little bit green and it's a little bit white, whilst the frozen strawberry has been picked at its optimal moment where it's fully mature. And you can tell with the color difference. One's full red and one's a little bit white. And that means that when this strawberry goes into the cereal, it's going to be more sweet than this fresh one. Now, with the cost of living crisis becoming harder and prices going up, if you still want to eat a nutritious diet filled with fruits and vegetables, you can do so by eating fresh, canned, and frozen.